Thanks for choosing to listen to this Late Night Linux Family podcast. We're only able to do this because of the people who support us. None of our shows are paywalled, but our Patreon supporters can get most episodes early and never hear any ads. Learn more at latenightlinux.com/support or support us by telling a friend or colleague about everything we do. Hello and welcome to episode 153 of Linux Dev Time. I'm Joe.
I'm Amalith.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Andy.
Good to talk to you all again. This is going to be a short episode because I've decided, like I did last Christmas, I'm going to have a week off in summer. But like at Christmas, I thought a short episode is better than no episode. So I've got a simple question for you all. Which bit of code do you admire most and why? So this could be a whole project or just a small part that solves a problem in an elegant way, for example.
So I've got loads of pieces of code that I really admire and things that have taught me things a lot over the years. And I have this particular moment I remember where I saw someone's code and I thought, wow, I'm right at the beginning of my coding journey and I thought I was good. But I think the thing I'd like to talk about today is the Python source code. So the actual code of the CPython interpreter that implements the Python programming language. I don't know a lot about it. I haven't looked really deeply into it, but I read a bit of that code and I was super impressed with how simple it was. I love programming languages. I love thinking about programming languages. And all of the Python structures that I think of as quite kind of high-level abstract concepts are implemented in CPython, in C, in really straightforward ways, like ways that I could open up the code and see, oh, okay, that's how that works, without having to take, months of getting it into it and understanding it. So, for example, a list in Python is just an array of pointers, and then the end of the list is indicated by a null pointer as the last item in that array. And yeah, I just thought it was really cool that I could open up the code, not know anything about how it was implemented, but know a bit about how Python works, and be able to recognize the stuff that I was familiar with in that C code, just because it was simple, well-named, well-structured and laid out. Yeah, I just think it's incredibly impressive for a project that big, to be comprehensible like that.
That's incredibly similar to the one that I was going to use. So I'm going to, on the fly, try to pick something different. I guess what I was going to say, not to sound like an overall Rust fanboy, but the Rust source code for the compiler itself in the standard library is very impressive because it's very, like a lot of the functions are very succinct. They use types to the fullest. I've really enjoyed looking through that when I've needed to. And it's one that I constantly find myself thinking about, like, is this exactly how it would be done by the Rust developers themselves, and trying to emulate that in some of my own code. So it's one that I think is a joy to read through. But because that's very similar to the Python source code, I would say off the top of my head, one that is very interesting is I think it's the inverse square root, or the fast inverse square root that was found in Quake 3 Arena. Not because it's particularly succinct code or whatever, just the fact that this one function became very famous out of the Quake 3 source code and then has popped up in multiple other places. The fact that there's this one mathy function that is very, very famous in the programming world, to me is a very interesting aspect. So I think that's a really cool piece of code, even though I've never had a use for it myself. I just think it's cool that there is a piece of code that got famous, so to speak.
I wouldn't say I find it the most interesting, but a project I've been very interested in lately is called Silverbullet. It's a note-taking app, but what makes it particularly interesting is that it embeds a Lua dialect called Space Lua, and you can extend Silverbullet and make it do anything you like by just writing a code block on a page that contains any Space Lua. It sounds so simple, but it is so extensible from that simple feature. I can write a page with a code block that describes how to send a page in my Silverbullet space to my other note-taking app, and suddenly there's a command I can run. The thing I described in that page is suddenly code I can execute to do a thing. That's really cool.
I'm going to have to look into this, but this also gives me Emacs vibes.
A little bit, yeah.
It sounds like a potential security nightmare, but it sounds really cool. And it got me thinking again about how stuff being just right there is so great.
Mm-hmm.
So when deployment, it just isn't even anything. Like PHP is the perfect example, right? Like you just write some PHP, stick it on your web server, and it immediately works.
Mm-hmm.
Which is probably also not known for the most stringent security out there.
No, I mean, let's not recommend PHP for anything other than that feature.
Well, I don't know about code and the elegance of it or anything, but I'm going to have to go for the obvious, the Linux kernel, like just how successful that has been and how widespread it is, how it runs on anything from a tiny SBC to a massive supercomputer, all the architectures, just because presumably it was written well in the first place and Torvalds has done a great job of shepherding the project all these years. And, I've heard from people that like he allowed just all sorts of drivers in and there's some pretty rough code in there, but ultimately it is the most successful open source project. And so I just have to go for the obvious. It's like, what's your favorite singer? Taylor Swift. There you go.
And it's unmanageably huge, isn't it, Linux? And the fact that it works is incredible.
Yeah. And also they're open to modern stuff like adding Rust to it. So you lot must be happy, or at least two of you.
So happy.
Right, well, I said it was going to be a short episode, so that'll do it. We'll be back in a couple of weeks when normal service will be resumed. Until then, I've been Joe.
I've been Amalith.
I've been Kevin.
And I've been Andy.
See you later.